Hey there, Julia here. Today we are going through my currently inked for June. However, we have some unfinished business when it comes to 30 ink 30 days, the last grouping of pen and inks. I will leave the playlist for the 30 inks 30 days challenge up in the cards right here if you find yourself a little behind, but I just want to tell you how the week went. Choose a favorite, and then we will get into what I decided to ink up for June. If you want to go ahead and skip to that, no problem. There are timestamps in the description and on the timeline here, so feel free. But if you're in for the long haul, let's talk about week 5. So Diamine Baltic Breeze was inked up in my very first Kaweco, the iridescent pearl. I guess I should say the prompts were my very first pens acquired that I still owned and Inkvent inks. So this was inked up in a Kaweco iridescent pearl with a medium nib. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed Baltic Breeze more than I thought I would. However, it isn't as interesting as this swatch would have you believe. It is kind of, not ballpoint blue, but it is kind of a boring blue, but it does have some really nice shading. It was flowing so well out of the Kaweco and I enjoyed it every time I picked it up. And so for the pen, I gave it a 4.5. For the ink, I gave it a 3.5. So we have an 8 for this pen and ink pairing. Next up, you can see some crazy Sheen Queen action going on here. This is Diamine Cosmic Glow, which was inked up in my Esterbrook JR in the Fantasia color, and that pen has an imperial nib on it. I will say, absolutely loved the flow for the most part when it came to that combination. Love the ink. As you can see in the writing, the sheen isn't too crazy like in the swatch. I really enjoyed that. However, I did have some flow issues. I don't know if the sheen was just too much for that particular nib, but I would get some hard starts here and there, and that was a little bit frustrating. But when it worked, which was most of the time, it was fantastic. So I gave the pen a 4.5, the ink a 4, so the total was 8.5. Flipping over, stunning. Let's start up here. So this is Diamine Wilted Rose. I had this inked up in the Lamy Safari cream, that matte cream color, with a medium black coated nib. Another one that was super reliable, really enjoyable, really no complaints with the pen. The ink, it was a little too shady for me. It was fine, like I do like it up here, but that is not how it wrote most of the time. That's just whenever I first pulled it out and first started writing with it, it would look a little darker and a little less shading. This is a little much for me. Still beautiful. When it dries down, it's great. And during writing this, I popped in on Instagram stories and said, I think that I've come to the realization that I just don't like writing very much with really like watery, shady ink, but I do like the way it looks when it dries, and that's, I don't know, it was just a little distracting. Like when I'm writing, I had a hard time concentrating on what I was writing because the writing experience was distracting, if that makes sense. But either way, it was an okay combination. I gave the pen a 4, the ink a 3, 7 altogether. The next combination was the Kaweco Sport in the olive color, and I inked that up with Diamine Wishing Tree. I honestly don't know what to say. It was such a good combination. Aesthetically, it was like spot on, but also I really enjoyed the way that the ink looks. We have just enough shading. It looks lovely and like muted when it's dried down like this. And I just had a good time with it. So I gave the pen a 4.5, the ink a 5. And so this combination got a 9.5. Over here, we have Diamine Raise a Glass. And this was inked up in the Esterbrook Estie Peacock. gorgeous pen. However, I just noticed, and I don't know how long this crack has been there, but I just noticed like the smallest crack in the cap, and I'm trying so hard not to hyperfixate on the crack. You can't really see it, and hopefully it doesn't spread or anything, but yeah, there is a crack in this pen. It makes me sad. Anyways, this pen and ink combination was really nice. I enjoyed how saturated this ink is. I do wish that in writing it picked up a little more purple than black. A lot of the time it just looked black, and I just kind of lost what I liked, what I thought I liked about the ink, like what I get here in the swatch. And of course I didn't get any of this. Oh wait, yeah, we do get a little bit of the sheen in the writing. It's very subtle. But yeah, I wish it was lighter. Pick a different ink, Julia. So I gave the pen a 4.5, the ink a 3, and so we end up with a 7.5 here. Finally, we have Diamine Nutmeg, which was inked up in the Pilot Cocono with a fine nib, and I just love nutmeg, y'all. This ink is amazing. It's so pretty and not harsh, and the shading is super subtle, but I know that it's there, and I still get the effect. It flowed really well out of the Pilot Cocono, and I had no problems with that. Super reliable, and I found myself picking this pen up probably the most throughout the week. I really enjoyed this combination. So I gave the pen a 4, the ink a 5, and this combination got a 9. So that means that the Kaweco Olive with Diamine Wishing Tree was the favorite combination for week 5. And if I flip all the way back to the beginning of the month, I've added it down here, and you can just see some of the top ones as far as scores go. The White Bear Pens Ursa model with Diamine Mint Twist, that was week 3. And this past week, week 5, Kaweco Sport in the olive color with Diamine Wishing Tree. Those are the top scores of the bunch or whatever. So yeah, still don't know what I'm doing with this, but here are the best of the 30 Inks 30 Days Challenge. And then here is the completed grid. I had some issues with the washi actually doing its thing, or the ink kind of like seeping underneath the washi, but still very fun to look at. Here are all the inks for May. And then with that, we can go ahead and flip over to June and get going with this month's currently inked. I've been enjoying fresh new starts lately, so I don't actually have any carryovers from the 30 Inks 30 Days Challenge, though I think at some point I am going to revisit some of those combinations, especially the ones that I really enjoyed. But for now, I have 7 new pens, 7 new inks. Let's get it. So the first pen I have inked up is the Pelikan M800 in the red stripes color. This is the older version of the M800, which basically means that you can see in between the stripes here. They've discontinued that look and everything's just opaque now, but I have to have some sort of ink window situation with a piston filler. And so I was definitely excited when I found this one on eBay. And then at the Chicago Pen Show, I was able to swap out my medium nib for an extra fine nib. And so I have this inked up with Monteverde's Napa Burgundy, which I got from Alexandra, also at the Chicago Pen Show. I feel like working with that Omos ink, I think that was week 4 of the 30 Inks 30 Days thing, made me a little more comfortable with lighter reds. This still is pretty dark, but it is much lighter than like your writer's blood or ox blood. And I think it'll be a really nice complement with the Pelikan and just a really nice ink to work with this month. gonna use some of my currently inked stickers that I have in the shop for the spread this month. Yeah, I think that's gonna be really lovely. Yeah, and it darkens up a little bit even when it's drying down, so nice. Next up, I decided to ink up this lovely Banu Euphoria in Neptune's Reach. I've featured this pen before, but I don't think I've ever inked it up in regular rotation. I love tentacles. I have tentacle drawings in my like brand stuff. I have a pretty badass squid, like zombie squid tattooed on my shoulder blade. So I just really enjoy having this and being able to see this really cool design. It's hand painted. And so I'm just really excited about putting this in the lineup this month. I have it inked up with Sailor Studio 162, which was going great at first, but I somehow pretty sure contaminated the sample and the converter with, I'm pretty sure, like writer's blood, like the tiniest bit. And so the ink that you'll see here is a little off as far as the color goes, but I still think it's really nice. It'll be fun. Yeah, it's definitely gonna end up looking a little more purpley. And I was thinking, you know, other than this not necessarily being the right color, but even still, I was kind of going for this darker match down at the bottom. It's more of a silvery blue down at the bottom. Yeah, and then this has a medium nib on it. So in Banu pens, a nice juicy medium, I'll get hopefully a lot of this like shading and the different colors. I am putting Sailor Ink Studio 162 here, but with a little asterisk. Next up, I actually am inking up another Banu Euphoria. This is the Blueberry Sorbet. I love a good purple, and I just thought that this was subtle enough, especially in Banu's realm of pens, pretty subtle. And this one actually has a fine flex nib on it. I think I've mentioned my opinions about the Yovo flex nib situation, the Omni flexes, all of that stuff. They aren't really flex pens or flex nibs in the like typical sense. It just makes these still nibs a little softer. Yes, you can press into your letters, but I would not expect a hardcore flex. But anyways, I have this inked up with my own custom, intentionally custom mix. This is Tea Berry Ice Rink, which is made up of 2 Birmingham Pen Company inks, Tea Berry Ice Cream and Ice Rink. And I actually have a video of how to mix this ink up on the channel. I'll leave that for you up here in the cards, but I love this ink. It matches so many pens that I have where other inks that I have in my collection don't. So I somehow also filled a void in the ink collection, and I don't know, it has really nice shading and I really love it. It may be one of my favorite inks, which is a little bit hilarious. think the closest ink that I have to this color is Colorverse Night of Myrtle. And this mix is more legible than Night of Myrtle. So I actually prefer this ink over that. Whoa, that is very not okay. Woo, very feathery, very crazy. Hold up a minute. Okay, nope, not really getting any hardcore feathering on here. It is feathering a bit. I'm gonna keep it right now, but we may end up swapping this nib out for a fine. Is it gonna keep doing it? Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, we can't have it. I'm gonna swap it out for a fine. All right, I have my fine nib. What is happening? Oh, it's a straight up Yovo. Let me see. So this is weird. Usually with Banus, the newer ones like the stub nib, ones that they traditionally didn't carry, it is a Yovo nib, but it's in their usual Schmidt housing. With this in particular, I think it is a Yovo nib in a Yovo housing. So I'm gonna have to go get an actual Yovo fine nib and housing to get into this pen. We are all over the place, but we're learning. Okay, we're gonna try this Yovo fine nib. Yes, okay. So something to note, if you get a Flex, the new Euphoria, it has a Yovo nib and housing. So I'm just gonna skip over my little whiteout section. That's gonna look a little weird, but it's fine. Blueberry sorbet. Don't love how we're still getting a little bit of feathering here. So it may be the paper because we're not getting that over here. Okay, we're not getting it over here too. So maybe this is just a shitty part of the paper. Definitely not normal. So this is the custom mix. I numbered them. This is BPC01. Tea Berry Ice Rink. Okay, yes, much better. Lovely. I don't know what happened there, and sorry that was so chaotic, but beautiful, beautiful ink, beautiful pen, a fun little match. All right, next up is a pen that I'm calling my birthday pen, and I finally get to ink it up since my birthday is this month. This is from Zodiac Pen Company. This is his Cancer model, and this is the Mermaid Jade blank. And the blank is from Papa J Studio, and it is so pretty. Look at that. Love the greens, love the golds, love this like bluish color that peeks in here and there. It's just so pretty. And I did a little bit of tinkering with this pen, at least for this month. I have a Sailor 21K nib installed in here, and I got the housing from Flexible Nib Factory, and typically it does fit a little bit better in Yovo pens. You usually don't see this black piece poking out of here, but this section is a little short. I've put this in some other Yovo pens and it goes all the way in, but this pen is just a little short on the grip section, so it doesn't match up completely, but I don't care. I love it. So with that, I also have a Sailor converter in here as well, and I have this inked up with a little bit of a mix, actually, intentionally again, but this is an ink from Kitty Ink Pot. I got this sample from so-and-so, and they're out of Australia. Thanks to Danielle at My Dandelion Diaries for putting this on my radar, because these are some gorgeous inks from this brand. But I have this ink called Biggie Cat Bottle. It's mostly this ink, but I also have a little bit of a darker green that was sent as a mystery ink sample mixed in as well, just because this was a little light in writing and I just wanted to add a little more darkness to it. But I'm just gonna swatch this one since that's what it mostly is. And this one should give you some really fun shading and chroma shading properties as well. And I forgot to mention this has a Sailor broad nib installed. I actually popped this nib out of the Follow the Mermaid Pro Gear that I have. So yeah, you can see there's not too big of a difference between the swatch and the writing, even though there's just a drop of a darker green mystery ink in the converter here. But I thought it was a lovely compliment to the pen. You know, I have to do it. I have to ink up an Esterbrook Estie at some point. And so here we are. This month I've inked up the Candy colorway, which is an older one, but it's just so pretty. It screams summer to me. And so I don't think I've inked this one up fully before either, but I got it earlier this year, brand new at a shop in Santa Fe, and actually had one of my friends and colleagues grab it for me once I knew that they had it in stock. So, ooh, also a really good match with Tea Berry Ice Rink. But I have this inked up with something more along these lines in Pilot Aegisai. I'm probably saying that wrong, and I forgot to look up how to say it before filming. So hopefully that's somewhat okay. So this is a lovely blurple that probably leans more purple. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I got this sample from Luke with Papa J Studio when I received one of my pens from him. Probably my wedding pen, now that I'm thinking about it. In the Esterbrook Estie, I have installed the nib from the Bungu Box collaboration. However, this has a custom nib grind on it by Kirk Spear. This is the Katana grind, which is one of those Naginata Togi type grinds. So think the Kadachi grind, think the perspective grind. It's gonna change based on your angle. And I really love these grinds. I think they feel really comfortable for me and feel really compatible with my handwriting, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think that's lovely and fun. This next one is also a really fun pen I got at Stationery Fest last summer. This is from Carolina Pen Company. You may have heard of Jonathan Brooks and his amazing resins, but this model is called the Charlotte, And I don't know what the resin is called officially, but I've been calling it acid wash just because it reminds me of like 80s, 90s acid wash jeans and just that vibe. It just reminds me of my childhood, and I don't know, it's just a fun pen. It has lots of subtle sparkle on it as well, and I really enjoy that. So I have this inked up with Pelikan Moonstone, which was Pelikan's Ink of the Year in 2020. It's a beautiful purpley gray color that I thought matched really well with some of these purpley bluish grays in the cap here. And I wanted to mention that this one also has a custom nib grind on it by Kirk Spear. This one is called the Spear Point. And if I remember correctly, the writing side is sort of a fine or extra fine. I think in my case, a fine on the writing side, but whenever you flip it over, you get more like a medium or maybe even a broad line. So what is that good for? If I go somewhere with just this pen, I'm able to emphasize things. If I'm making a planning spread, I can have my headers, Monday, and then have my task lists or my notes in this thinner writing. So probably one of my favorite, I say that all the time, I feel like, one of my favorite grinds. But as far as functional and just like everyday use, I really like the Spear Point grind. This is a little long post-it. It works, but it is a little long. I don't know. Let's do a reverse side for fun. Reverse. See, that feels more like a broad on this paper. So I'm learning as I'm going through the year in this notebook that the Cosmo Airlight paper, when you write on it, it will make your nib size a tiny bit bigger. So you see what this looks like, this kind of broad line. It's not as broad on this paper. So just something to note, something I'm learning as I'm spending more time on this paper. 9 times out of 10, I don't mind it. Next up, I have a somewhat recent acquisition from the Chicago Pen Show. It was not an expected purchase, but I really love it. It's so beautiful. This is from Papa J Studio. This is the Persephone Floral design, as he's calling it. And I've shown this a few times already, but I really, really love how the cap has these like peekaboo moments of the nib right there, and it's just so cool. Sexy black with the feathers and the gold foil or gold flakes. You can see the ink in here, and then just like his attention to detail, even the converter has gold finishing on it versus the typical silver. So I just thought that was really cool. This has a Bach nib on it. I do believe this is an extra fine. It may be a fine. It doesn't have any markings on it, and I cannot remember what it is. It looks like extra fine on my planner paper, but it might look like a fine on here. I have this inked up with Amarillo Stationery's Toasty Joggers, which is a lovely, like, goldenrod, orangey, I don't know. It just made me think of the gold on here, but also super legible. So Such a pretty color. Are we sure we don't know what size this is? It really doesn't say. I'm gonna say extra fine. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It looks a little more orange on screen to me because it is very golden in person. Oh, I have a feeling I'm gonna love this combination this month. Okay, that's what I'm rolling with this month. I'm going to let this dry. We'll come back, do a close-up review, and yeah. Okay, I think we're good enough to make a run for a review. Let's start up top. Up here we have the Pelikan M800 in red, inked up with Monteverde Napa Burgundy. And this does have an extra fine nib. I think that's a beautiful match. We have the Banu Euphoria in the Neptune's Reach, inked up with Sailor Ink Studio 162, kinda. It is a contaminated version of this ink, but still really cool, really beautiful. I'm gonna have fun with this one. Then we have another Banu Euphoria in the Blueberry Sorbet color, and this has a custom ink mix in here that I'm calling Tea Berry Ice Rink. I also forgot to mention that I now have an affiliate link with Banu pens, so I'll leave that down in the description. You can always find any of my affiliate links and codes and things like that at my website, juliahere.com. Next up, we have the Zodiac Pen Company's Cancer model. This is the Mermaid Jade resin, and this has a Sailor 21K broad nib on it. It's inked up with Kitty Ink Pot's Biggie Cat bottle, mixed up with a little bit of mystery ink. I'm all over the place this month. Next up, I have the Esterbrook Estie in the Candy colorway, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Ajisai. Such a fun match. This one has the katana grind on it. Next up, we have the Carolina Pen Company Charlotte model. I'm calling this colorway Acid Wash. This has a spear point nib on it and is inked up with Pelikan Moonstone. And then finally, we have a Papa J Studio pen. This is the Persephone floral design, and it has an extra fine nib on it. It's inked up with Amarillo Stationery's Toasty Joggers. So yeah, I scaled back a little bit this month as far as the number of pens. I think I typically do 10, at least 8. And so with the 30 inks, 30 days, I found that 6 was a pretty good number for, you know, week to week, or not feeling overwhelmed and having variety, that type of thing. So I just kind of cut back a little bit, split it down the middle, and went with 7. Is it summery? The pens lean a little more summery than the inks themselves, but you know, I like my dark inks, but make it fun. I don't know. Let me know what you think here. What are you inking up this month? What are your favorites here? Do you have any questions? Because I know that we got a little weird with the Sailor nib here, the custom grinds, the swapping the Yovo nibs. It got a little crazy, but you know, good times. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy Inky Good Times, and thank you so much for watching. As always, especially to this point, I will catch you all in the next one.